Some black women actually complain bitterly, all right, especially on the social media today, that most successful black men, okay, successful black entrepreneurs, successful black architects, engineers, medical doctors, neurosurgeons, you know, uh, aerospace engineers, civil engineers, lawyers, name them, all right, including sometimes even African leaders. And this makes us question the loyalty, dignity, and integrity of such leaders, all right, marrying outside their race, because this cannot be said of other leaders elsewhere in the world, if not in Africa. And sometimes also, successful black athletes. I know you wanted me to mention successful black athletes like the NBA players, what have you, the top black, African or black footballers and all of that. I know that that is what you really wanted me to mention first. But it is important to note that we as a people are excellent in different fields. We are not just athletes and we are not just musicians. As a matter of fact, enough of the entertainment, enough of the football, enough of all the sports, you know, that is not to say that those aspects are not important, but what you should know is that there are many black people excelling in different other fields. I don't think you can entertain yourself if you don't have your health checked. If you don't have good, if you are not in good health, I don't think you'll want to go and clap every weekend. All right. If you are jobless, I don't think you would want to go and clap every weekend. you know so we need to actually promote this aspect of things too. We need to actually promote the successful engineers among us, the successful medical doctors, and we actually need to hail that. We need more scientists, and we already have a lot of black scientists, black doctors, black neurosurgeons, black kidney transplanters, and many more. We need more of these black aerospace engineers and many more black civil engineers. We need to promote more of this in our community, because this is what we need to be prosperous and independent and self-reliant as a people. Before I come back to the topic, when you speak this way, you would often have, for instance, people of other communities coming to comment and say, you know what, why are you speaking as if you are disconnected from the world? And why are you speaking as if, so some would call this like you being racist, or you being pro this or pro that. As a matter of fact, I think everybody should be pro their race. That is normal. All right. If you are white and you are pro white, that doesn't make you a racist unless you do something discriminatively against somebody outside your race based on the fact that this person doesn't look like you. That's where you can call somebody that is pro their race a racist. But all that I try to preach on my page, and I do make videos sometimes that don't even talk about black people in general, that don't even talk about Africa, right? And I think all other people are free and have the right to talk about themselves. Why is that when a black person is speaking about Africa, when a black person is speaking about his identity, when a black person is speaking about his origin and love of his history and culture, then he's tagged as being disconnected from the world and being, you know, that is not right. I think I don't need to sit down and complain about issues of my community without uh, taking any action, or without conscientizing and without asking for how we can solve those solutions. I don't think we have to sit down and wait for other people to come to our rescue. And we should not be bothered about going to rescue other people when we are already suffering. That is not to say, nobody, like, you could call it whatever you want to call it, but we should understand our historical past, right? When we were going through slavery, we did not go through slavery with anybody. When we were colonized, when we were all the tortures that we've, and even today, sometimes the abuse that we go through, we don't go through that with any other person. So I don't think I should feel guilty for loving myself. I urge you, if you are white watching me, to love yourself as a white person. Love yourself and love your people. But that doesn't mean you should hate on another person because this person doesn't look like you. That's why we call it maybe racism. But you just loving and wanting the progress of your people and wanting the betterment of your people does not make you a bad person. Every other person should love themselves and love their own kind. That is just what we need. Because the more we love ourselves, the less we will hurt each other, whether black or white or Indian or Chinese. So self-love has nothing to do with what hating of other people. I only love myself. And I don't even think I needed to explain this, but I just thought of it wise to say something about that because most people cannot conceive the idea that, or do not understand the fact that self love has nothing to do with what hating others. Before I can love you, I actually need to love myself first, you know. Anyway, so let's come back to our topic. You know, the question is, do most successful black men really prefer dating outside their race? Do you really buy into this narrative? Do you think it's true? And if so, why do you think most black athletes, most black entrepreneurs, most black scientists, surgeons, lawyers would prefer dating outside their race? All right. The next thing we will try to understand is, if from the woman's perspective, most black men are doing this, then from the man's perspective, why do they do what they do? All right. So let's start with, first of all, uh, is it true? Is this particular narrative true that most successful black men would prefer dating outside their race? Is it really true? Before we answer this question, personally, I have no issues with a black person marrying or dating somebody of another race, all right? In a sense that I I do understand what what love means, all right? You know, at the individual level, I do understand what love means. I've seen, let's say, or I've ever met white ladies, right? Arab ladies, Chinese ladies, or Indian ladies, name them, other uh, ladies, if you want, that are not necessarily black. And these people treated me right. And at that point, after they treated me right, I fell in love with them. You get me? I cannot deny that I've ever gone out with maybe a white woman. I cannot deny that. And I don't think I did anything wrong. So I'm not against going out with a white person or a black, I mean, an Asian person or whatever outside your race. That is not my point, you see. But what we should understand is that marriage is what is an economic union, right? So, for instance, we do complain of a lot of economic issues within our community. we do complain of the fact that, you know what, we don't have, um, let's say, I don't know how to put it. Like we have like um, like we don't usually have, let's say, I don't know how to put it. Should I call it patrimony? Or, like when a black man, for instance, dies, all he has left behind is his job. All right. So if you have gone and all you have left behind is your job, and your job is doesn't belong to your kid, right? As soon as you became late, your employer simply replaced you very, very quick by another person, to play your role. So now you have gone, and you probably don't even have any savings for your kids. You see? So, and some of us are complaining about unemployment or underemployment. Some of us are complaining of what being discriminated against at the workplace. Some of our ladies cannot even wear their natural hair to work in some companies simply because what they are black and the owner of the company isn't black. We do have different kind of issues that we face as a people. All right. We do have issues of racism. We do complain. What if I just told you, instead of complaining about racism, what if you loved yourself more? Of course, when you love yourself more, people would come against you and still make you and gaslight and manipulate you to think that you are doing something wrong for choosing to love yourself and to love your own kind. Meaning that they prefer that you simply what remain weak, ignorant, and stupid. Sorry to say, and keep pleading for acceptance and love from others. How much can somebody love you that would make you feel good as a human being if you don't love yourself first? So you should not be guilty of loving yourself, no matter what somebody says. All right. So for that matter, you should not be guilty marrying or preferring to go out with a woman of your own kind because other people do that and they don't even need to talk about it. So, but like I was saying, it's not like I'm against that, but marriage is an economic union, right? So when you are successful and you marry people of other races, what happens? When you die, all your wealth goes into the hands of, you know, the woman. And now the problem is whether or not that particular woman is loyal um, to your family and to your people, to your because you should understand whether you like it or not, you have a responsibility to your community or to your race. If you don't get it this way, then don't complain about the issues of our community. Don't complain about anything at all because if you don't understand the simple fact that as a black person, you have a responsibility to the betterment of your people, right? Economically, culturally, politically, whatever. Meaning that if we are to talk about economics, meaning that then you have to make sure that when you are marrying, the wealth stays in your what community. When you are late, all your wealth can stay with your community and it can generate employment, it can create that's why we call that's the real sense of economic power. So marriage is an economic union, you know. So like I just stated earlier on, I have no problem. I've already gone out with women of other races. So it's not like I'm saying, you know what, you should crack your head simply because you are currently with a white person or an Asian or whatever. That is not what I'm saying. And you don't have to feel guilty for that. There's nothing wrong with you both loving each other. There's nothing wrong with that. you know. But self love is to actually what? Choose you first. You haven't made a mistake for being with somebody that you really love, whether or not this person is black or white. But this is just for educational purposes or purpose to remind us that we need to choose ourselves first, but don't feel guilty or anything of less a black person because you are with somebody. That's not what I'm saying, right? But please get my message. If you are with somebody that, regardless of whether the fellow is black or white, but this person also has a responsibility to the betterment of your people, then what is the point, Because not everybody that is even black really has the sense of responsibility of the betterment of our communities. So I don't really want to go that much deep, but you understand what I mean. Don't feel guilty, but this is for educational purposes. And this is just to remind us and to encourage us to love ourselves more. All right. So I think that disclaimer is done. I'm not against the racial marriage or anything of that sort. I'm just trying to let you understand that you need to love yourself more and you need to marry your own kind. You need to be with your own kind. That is just my simple message, but I'm not against you being with any other person. And I also just wanted to highlight on the importance of on the economic aspects of things, why marriage is an economic union. If you want to empower your people, then marrying within your race is a great way to do that. I also mentioned at the beginning that we even have sometimes some African leaders marrying outside their race, which is insulting black people and to Africans because how we cannot have, for instance, in Monaco, I think was it the king or the prince when he wanted to date a black woman, he was stopped. We can see, for instance, in the UK when the prince wanted to, even the woman is not like uh she's black, all right, but she's not like a typical African. But there were issues with that, you know. That should tell you that other people don't tolerate that. So how could we ever expect an African leader to be with a woman that is not an African? That is that makes us question the credibility, integrity, loyalty, and dignity of such a president or a leader. You see, so I think I've cleared that aspect. All right. Now the question is, let's come to the real question: whether or not most successful black men actually prefer dating outside their race. I don't think that is the case. All right. We do have some successful black men who date outside their race. That is true, but that cannot be said of most. We cannot just say use the word most, but we can say some. I think that would be better. Though maybe I'm here to read an article or a study that is done on that or something. But I think sometimes this narrative, I don't think this narrative is really true to the fullest, all right? Because we do have very successful black entrepreneurs, black scientists, black surgeons, black engineers, and what have you, black athletes who are with what? The black woman, all right? But to some extent, this is true, okay? This is true to some extent, all right? This can be said of some African footballers, for instance, and some NFL or whatever players, and whatever some black athletes, But so we could say maybe this may be a little bit common among black athletes, but this cannot be said of especially most successful black scientists, black engineers, and black entrepreneurs. And to speak about the football aspect or the athlete, to speak about black athletes or successful black athletes. This could be due to the fact that most of these successful black athletes actually grow their career outside of uh, Africa, all right? Or sometimes, let's take the case of, let's say, a black athlete that was born and raised in the West, for instance. Some of those athletes, what you should understand is that most of these clubs are owned by what? They are owned by non-black entrepreneurs, right? So most of the what should I say, the administrative team of these clubs and what have you are often what? Are often people that are not black. So sometimes a young black athlete that is starting his career is often surrounded by, a team of people that are not necessarily black, right? And uh, this explains that because most of the, like, when you have black ladies in the stadium, we are often just there to watch the match. All right, we're often just there to watch the match, but we have very, very few black people that are actually around the players, that are in charge of seeing to the well-being of the players, and the business aspects of the players and all of that, which means that there's a higher chance of what a black athlete going out with a woman that is not black, simply because he might ignorantly say, you know what, I've always been, and that is not even ignorance. That is true. Well, in some cases, they have always been supported by women that are not necessarily black. So when he finally makes it to the top, would you be surprised that this man would go out with uh, one of these women that was in his close circle, that was being supportive. Now, from the men perspective, most black successful athletes actually complain that, what, as I was saying, when they were grinding, when they were trying to climb their career ladders, when they were pushing, when they were still uh, playing in lower divisional teams and what have you, when they were, minors and what have you, they never really had the support of uh, black women. As a matter of fact, some black women were teasing them that, what, they are ugly when they had no money and what have you. This how some men actually complain. And I don't think this is a justification, and I don't think this is true. All right. I have tried to ask out, let's say, women of other races, and they snubbed me. They never even spoke to me. They never gave me their numbers. So I don't think we should keep encouraging this narrative that, what, our women are just rude, and our women, they are just gold diggers, and they wouldn't date you when you don't have money, and when we shouldn't keep pushing this narrative. you know Rather, we should always preach a positive message, to teach. We should inspire. We should let people know what they should do, but we should not just keep pushing the same narrative that we are just bad, and we would only date a black man when he's rich, and we are just gold diggers, and we are always going for the bag. you know that cannot be said of what, every black woman. And it's not only black women that go for the bag. You can talk about a lot of other women that are not black that also go for the bag. So let's not continue to victimize ourselves. Let's not continue to denigrate ourselves, but let's always promote the good ones among us. Let's promote good examples. Let's promote good, successful black men that have been supported by black women right from inception, right from day one, till they reach the top. Let's promote that, because this narrative of, you know, when I was struggling, no black woman was around me, and this and this and that, that is not true. You know, It's just part of female nature, hypergamy. Women will always want to date somebody higher. So when you are still grinding, if you met the wrong woman, which is hypergamous and which probably could not see the potential in you, and this woman belittles you, don't take that like, um, don't generalize that about all black women. All right. So that is on the men part. So some men would say, when they were grinding, they were never supported. So, and they keep pushing the narrative that black women are just all about the back and they'll wait until you are successful. So let's not keep pushing that narrative. Now, what else did I want to say about this topic? On the part of women, women keep complaining. Like I said, it's not all men that do that. It's not all even black athletes that would do that. It's not all black successful entrepreneurs, politicians, lawyers, engineers, medical doctors, neurosurgeons, and what have you who would do that. It's just a handful of black people that would do that. Now, the last thing that I would talk about is that we should understand also that we as a people, because of our painful historical past of slavery, whatever, we actually people that have a lot of sometimes inferiority complex and sometimes self-doubt, and to some black men to date outside their race, you know it's like uh it's like winning a trophy. Okay, to them it's like, because when you have very low self-esteem, especially you hate yourself. That's why I started by preaching what self-love as a black person, but because most people who do this because they have self-hate, and because they hate themselves, they don't like themselves, they have been brainwashed to hate themselves. Like I said, historically, and even to till date, there are still a lot of racist comments and whatever about us, and people who don't really know themselves, who don't know their history, their culture, and who don't love them. And because if you don't know your history and your culture, your true history and culture, if you don't love, you cannot love yourself enough because you don't know your true self. If you don't have any pride in your identity as a black person, then this inferiority complex would lead you to actually thinking that being with a woman of another race is what would make you have some self-worth and make you accomplished. So, and this can be said of even some black women, successful or not successful, dating outside their race. So the whole thing is that we should not create this kind of division whereby we try to say, it's the black woman versus the black man. This is what all these narratives seek to achieve, is to make us believe that, it's just black men that prefer doing this, and it's just black women that prefer dating outside their race. And no, you see, it's just about black man and black woman. It should be about black man and black woman loving themselves enough and seeing the need to come together to build a black family. That is how what is supposed to be. So don't buy into the narrative of a black man being against a black woman. As a matter of fact, there's no black woman without a black man, and there's no black man without a black woman. So don't buy into that narrative. Anyway, I think I've addressed the issue very, very well. That is what I suppose. Please let me know in the comment section if I left out anything. And please remember to subscribe, and see you in the next one.